Nebula. I'm excited to have you here today to talk about our company and the value we bring to the industry and the community. Nebula is a human-centered solution that seeks to bring integrity to a process that currently lacks it. The current process of transacting services and solutions is broken and cannot be trusted, it can be abused at any time. Sorry for that. Nebula provides a solution to the individual that blocks intermediation, bias, abuse, creates a trusted payment system, and helps remove bias and fraud in a world that's full of it. Our solution is based on a decentralized marketplace for solutions and talent, secured via blockchain smart contracts and responsible ethical AI. This means that our platform is transparent, secure, and fair for everybody involved. For the individual, Nebula provides a number of benefits. First, our platform eliminates the need for intermediaries, which can save you time and money. Second, um, our platform is built on blockchain technology, which means that your transactions are secure and transparent. And third, our platform uses responsible ethical AI, which means that our data is protected and you are not subject to bias. For business, Nebula provides a number of benefits. It helps you find the best-in-class emerging technologies talent. Second, our platform can help you find the best talent for your needs. And third, our platform can help you protect for your intellectual property. And lastly, our platform can help you reduce fraud and abuse. In short, we're building Nebula, a solution for good. We're working to make the world a more equitable and just place, one transaction at a time. I will be putting our white paper, and now I'll hand over the baton to Renato Garro, co-founder and event host for Microsoft. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Stefano. And hi, everybody. Thanks for coming today and for joining this webinar. So we wanted to start this kind of like event, basically like saying thank you for coming on board. I know AI is hot topic, and we have seen a lot of interest on both the Microsoft side, which I'm like one of the Azure Migrate and Modernize and OpenAI leads at Microsoft, and also on Nebula, co-founder at Nebula. So we wanted to kind of like open this space with some industry experts we have brought from multiple companies and different places in the US. And yeah, you guys as kind of like, you know, being in the industry and knowing what are the use cases that you have been thinking about using all this generative AI, and the use cases, the productivity you can get from that, right? So that we wanted to kind of like get started with a conversation around that. And tomorrow we'll have a in-person dinner for the ones that are in the area in Fort Lauderdale to be able to, you know, network and so on. So let me just introduce myself on the Microsoft side. Like I said, I'm one of the Azure Migrate and Modernize leads for Microsoft. Let me just change the screen here. And today I wanted to share with you what is the AI strategy and investments Microsoft is making. And so you can kind of like hear not only what you see on like on the internet, like as far as kind of like OpenAI and some other stuff, but also kind of like customers are reaching out to us asking, hey, beyond OpenAI, what is Microsoft working on? I hear some news around like Copilot and other services you guys are working on. So I just wanted to share that with you and yeah, open it up. So we'll start with this session, and then I'll pass it on to Klaus, which is gonna do. He's coming from Chewy. He's gonna do a session around how does he see like the use cases of AI in practical, you know, implementations. He's running the AI team at Chewy in supply chain, so there's a lot of insights he can share with us, and it's gonna be more of a conversational type of session. And then we'll pass on to the panel with Mike, who's coming from Core AI. Michael Gold from just joining us, actually talking about more like the creative aspect of things. Davi's going to talk about more like the legal aspect of like what's implementation of AI and what are the legal ramifications of that. And Umar coming from Databricks. So we're excited to have this whole team here. So let me get going. So first of all, as we see, right, AI is everywhere. We have seen really customers making almost more than twice the investment that they would have made a year before in AI. So there's an acceleration of AI and the use of AI. There is more research happening in AI. It has been accelerating due to the the recent advancements we have made on the generative AI and like the just the marketing awareness that we have seen on the industry. So a lot of customers are interested in adopting AI as a use case. And of course, the technology is here. Everybody that has tried ChatGPT, Bard, and other similar technologies, they can see what is the outcome that you can get, the rapid responses, the almost like human level responses you can get, the fluidity that the language provides to you, and like the broadness of the scope that it can provide to you. But there is also other alternatives. I think Mike from Core AI will talk about kind of like what are the different other alternatives, as well as Databricks will talk about that. So yeah, we're facing very interesting times, right? Which is like as far as like geopolitical issues, economic issues, and some talent shortages, but at least we have the opportunity of transforming the world using AI, which is something that we're very happy about, and have a very open mindset to be able to explore what are the use cases we see in AI. So number one, we see, for example, EY working with us at Microsoft to be able to do intelligent document automation, really reducing more than 250,000 man hours of manual work and saving a lot of time on the process. So that's been something that they've been able to automate a lot of business processes there. Number two, sales and demand forecasting, inventory management with PepsiCo, being able to get a model 3 times faster into production using, the generative AI models with all the meta prompting and all the, ability to integrate the models using the APIs very easily. And with progressive hyper personalization of customer engagement using the models, because the models can now relate to people in multiple languages, speak to them in a more fluid way, and it can have a broader understanding of multiple use cases. So that really helps to provide a better customer experience, right? And customers are interested from all those perspectives to be able to take on the opportunity of AI transformation. So at Microsoft, we're starting to switch from talking about the digital transformation into AI transformation, which is kind of like the next era of the internet. We're seeing that customers are embracing this new era. Every company is trying to see how they can integrate AI into their business models and being able to disrupt their industries, right? So that's kind of like what we see. And as far as the Microsoft Cloud, AI is ingrained in the Microsoft Cloud. So the Microsoft Cloud not only includes the AI aspects of things, but it includes the ability to run business applications, being able to get productive work done using the Microsoft 365 toolset, data and AI that we're going to talk about today, being able to generate and create applications, cloud native, or applications for mobile on containers, running your infrastructure at scale, and having all that secured by the Microsoft Secure Cloud. So that is really the 360 on the Microsoft Cloud, and AI is embedded into every single service that Microsoft has created. So Microsoft has been investing heavily in AI, not only recently from all these announcements on OpenAI, but even before that. And what we have seen as far as like the main focus on the research has been expanding the accessibility of AI and the productivity that we can get from AI, increasing the partnerships, of course, OpenAI being one of them, and being able to keep developing responsible AI practices. So when it comes to responsible AI practices, we at Microsoft have a responsible AI framework that we use for every time we develop a new model, a new service, we integrate into a new partnership. So that really becomes at the core of everything that we do at Microsoft. So a little bit more on the research that we have done. So we have more than 8 global research centers, more than 1,000 employed researchers, and more than 22,000 AI-related patents, and much more. So there's been a heavy focus on that, right? As far as breakthroughs, we were actually first companies to be able to get to object recognition, speech recognition, machine reading, comprehension, human parity, machine translation, conversational Q&A, image captioning, question and answering. So all those things really leading there, right? So this is even before OpenAI. So then you can see really that the investments have been happening for a long time. And now, how does it look like when you talk about like the overall like Azure services we have as far as like available for customers to be able to use? So we have not only the OpenAI services, which are like what people have seen, right? Like GPT-3, GPT-4, and we will talk a little bit more about that. DALI, which is the image generation, Codex, which is the ability to generate code, either do basically like code from scratch, do documentation on code, or being able to review code using GitHub Copilot, and ChatGPT, which is what most people are familiar with, as well as other models that we have been able to leverage for other use cases internally at Microsoft, the Turing, Z-Code, and Florence models, as well as other kind of like, let's say, I would say AI as a service type models, which are vision, speech, language, decision, and of course the OpenAI service, right? Cognitive search, form recognizer, immersive reader, bot service, and video analyzer are other models that you can leverage. At the end of the day, it can give you the ability, for example, on Bing to be able to get better search and Q&A, which now you can also integrate into your applications, better customer engagement, better matching and content moderation, email management, better ability to mine knowledge that you may have in your industry, in your company, being able to transcribe meetings and take actions from those meetings into emails, being able to provide better assistance to your customers and so on. So basically, like the models are kind of like treated as Lego pieces that you can plug and play for your applications and use cases. And that's kind of like how companies can benefit from that. Some of the use cases that we have seen with customers are the ones you see here on the screen. And what you see here is that it varies across industries, but you can always find a use case depending on what you're looking to do. And specifically for the large language models, which are GPT-3 and 4, and those models that people want to know more about, those models can be embedded into your application using the API, right? The Azure Open Service API helps you to get a dedicated environment so you can run the OpenAI service in your environment, and the data doesn't really leave that environment. It's only it's your data, it's for you. Microsoft doesn't reuse the data to retrain our models or retrain OpenAI's models. It's dedicated for you. The other benefit from that is that the customer can have the ability to have an environment where you have additional protections when it comes to, let me just mute everybody else. Yeah, you can have additional protections when it comes to being able to have security at the user level and also align that to your responsible AI framework. So that's something that you will see later in the presentation. And then on the Azure AI service, you can also have the scale you need. So the Azure platform has been able to create a fabric that has been dedicated for running all these large language models, generative AI models, and partnership with NVIDIA. So we have been able to get to that level of, understanding of what it needs to be able to run a really performance type model. And then all that has been already embedded into the Azure platform, so you don't have to worry about that. So that basically enables any customer to be able to run models, expand their use cases across multiple applications, whether legacy, on-premise, in the cloud, mobile, web, regardless of the use case, in a very flexible way. So then when you talk about the OpenAI models and how they're embedded into other services, kind of like to give you like a broader view on this, you have the Microsoft Cloud, which I was explaining about. Then you have GitHub Copilot. GitHub Copilot is essentially a service that helps you and your developers to be more productive. We see developers becoming 45% more productive from using GitHub Copilot. Essentially, imagine a developer can have a piece of code, and then the service will autocomplete the piece of code for repetitive tasks and things like that. It can also help to generate brand new code from scratch. It can help you make documentation from a piece of code that has been already generated. So it just facilitates the time to market, right? So then developers can have spend more quality time on really the more difficult way tasks or difficult pieces of the code that they need to build on the application side instead of focusing on the more repetitive tasks. So then GitHub Copilot really really a no-brainer for everybody that's managing developers. One of the things that we see customers adopting and being really happy about is GitHub Copilot because they can get so much productivity just from the start. It's really enabling a license and then off you go. You don't need to have any implementation done. So it's very quick service to enable. Then we have the OpenAI service that's embedded into more the analytics side of things. So OpenAI has been embedded into Power BI to be able to generate dashboards using natural language and being able to digest and being able to have insights from those data sets on a visual basis, right? Using the natural language, which makes it very easy. Now you don't need to know any SQL language to be able to generate any type of code to be able to create like visualizations or know a specific steps to be able to do that. The generative AI just creates those for you. So, and then you have Microsoft Fabric, which is a new service. It's essentially a data lake service that's been fully developed from the ground up. That includes the database service Fabric, includes the visualization, and includes the AI integrations, all from a single platform. So it's something that we're very excited about, and a lot of customers are asking us how can they get started with a service that it's fully integrated from the bottom layer up to the AI layer. So Microsoft Fabric is really one interesting service that we just recently launched 3 weeks ago, actually. And then you have the Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is, think about it like ChatGPT for productivity. It can help you write emails, summarizations. It can help you to do tasks in Excel. You don't need to memorize any formulas anymore. It can just be basically your assistant, right? It can help you navigate. It can help you create presentations. It can help you become more productive when you reply to customers, create proposals, review them. It's essentially your assistant that's always with you when you're doing stuff on the Microsoft 365 portfolio of services. And then you have the Power Platform, which is the ability to do low code, no code using AI. So then now you don't need to know even like very little code on those platforms or how to create applications using drag and drop. Now you can generate all that using a natural language. You can basically say, hey, I want to create an app that takes this input data from a form and then create an email sequence so that my potential prospects can get an email and then get a text message. And then it'll automatically create the flow in Power Apps, and then you can publish the app for you to use. There is no need there to be able to even be a low-code programmer. It can generate the whole thing for you. And then Microsoft Security Copilot, which is essentially your security assistant. It can help you do analysis on all your security services on your enterprise across multiple services. It can help you do regressive analysis on particular security incidents that maybe your SIEM solution may identify. It can help you actually also take a piece of code from a malicious software and being able to do reverse engineering to understand what were the steps that were taken from this piece of code and what are the things that you need to do to mitigate that in the future or prevent that particular security breach from expanding in your network. So it's essentially like a security savant that you can have as a service in your organization, and then it can plug it into Microsoft Defender for Cloud, security service, and then Sentinel. So then it brings the whole enterprise into one service from the security standpoint. So those are some of the services that Microsoft has been launching in the past couple months, and we're launching more services as we go, but you see the investments that we have, right? So when it comes to accessibility, we're adding live captions into Teams, right? Content reading, translation, voice input, and describing images. So making everything as far as Microsoft services more accessible, which is one of the core principles at Microsoft for developing software. And we're expanding that with not only Bing, Microsoft 365, and Xbox. So we're keeping the investments going when it comes to those accessibility partnerships and investments. And when it comes to our ecosystem, we have more than 10,000 partners that are able to deliver services on the Azure platform, but specifically on AI, we're having really good partnerships with companies like Databricks and other companies that are able to deliver services on top of the Azure platform, and building with customers specifically on use cases that you may be interested in, right? So with that, really the partnership has been going along the way since 2019 with OpenAI, and now you see those services enabled in Azure with GPT-3, 4, ChatGPT, Codex, and DALL-E, right? Which we kind of cover. We have been partnering as well with NVIDIA when I was talking about the Azure service and the AI fabric we have running in Azure, and Meta when it comes to the research that both Microsoft and Meta are doing in the AI field. So then those things are very exciting. When it comes to responsible AI, Microsoft has a very committed model for responsible AI. Every service that we release to the public has gone through a series of steps to ensure that it's it has very little bias, if not no bias, right? It protects information that it's using from the beginning. The information cannot leave the AI environment, and then we're using information that has been permitted. So all those things kind of like are pieces of the responsible AI framework. And then we have series of committees and reviews, and of course a process to roll out the models so that once they go out on the public, then those models are to the best possible way, for the benefit of the customers and the users of the models. And those are kind of like some of the principles that we adopt at Microsoft, which are core of the responsible AI framework: privacy, security, inclusiveness, accountability, transparency, fairness, and reliability and safety. Those are our responsible AI principles, and they're at the core of everything that we do to be able to release new models. So those principles carry on regardless of if it's a service that was created by Microsoft or a service that we're partnering with another company to release on the Azure platform. And that's really important to understand, right? That Microsoft has that commitment, and that we ensure that the protection of the information happens, and that the customer data doesn't leave your environment. So those are kind of like some of the things. As far as tooling, and what have we created to enable customers to have a responsible AI framework on their own? We have the responsible AI dashboard and AI content safety. So the responsible AI dashboard, and you're going to see a quick video there on that, essentially helps you to understand really how is the model that you have created on the Azure platform related to all the other services you have, and what is the data that you're using, and what could be the potential risk of enabling this model on this data set, and is there any bias there, any potential risk for the organization compliance-wise or security-wise. It can help you compare multiple models so that you can determine which model is the best one for your organization based on your security and governance practices. And then the AI content safety can allow you to understand if there is any particular issues from the data sets, right? Is there any potential misuse of the data set when you're plugging the data set into the model when it comes to violence, sexual, hate, harassment, and other factors that you can associate. So then it can help you, one, measure kind of like a little bit of the risk of the data. The other one, what is the risk of the models? So I'll just play a quick video. Hopefully the sound is going to come through. And
ready to unlock the power of AI? Azure Machine Learning provides
let me lower the.
Ready to unlock the power of AI? Azure Machine Learning provides the tools to do it responsibly. The Responsible AI Dashboard helps you check models for fairness, explainability, and more, allowing for greater confidence in AI adoption. You can train and debug models within healthcare settings using the new Accelerator Kit for healthcare. Detect and assess the fairness of models before they're deployed to inform decisions in a healthcare setting. Examine cohort data to understand aggregated patient care trends. Train models to prioritize hospital resources. And that's not all. Want to learn more?
So as you see there, it's a very intuitive platform, and it can help you gain a better posture when it comes to generating
Ready to unlock?
models. So this is the other one, the AI content safety. So let's take a look.
As user and AI-generated content continues to grow, businesses need to moderate this data responsibly. Discriminatory, hateful, or dangerous content might cause users to abandon brands and platforms, which can result in losses for the business. Unsafe content might also damage brand reputation or violate online safety regulations and standards. With Azure AI Content Safety, businesses across industries can leverage responsible AI to assist in creating safer online environments and communities. Our models are designed to detect hate, violent, sexual, and self-harm content, so your users can feel safe and enjoy their online experience without compromising their safety. When the models detect harmful content, they also assign it a severity score, allowing businesses to prioritize and review the content. Azure AI Content Safety can help companies with social media platforms or products with social features monitor content in posts, threads, chats, and more. Gaming can also benefit from Azure AI Content Safety, using it to monitor social features, such as chat in live streaming and multiplayer games. It will also detect risks in user-generated content, such as avatars, usernames, and uploaded images. Azure AI Content Safety models are reliable and effective, used by other Azure AI products to monitor both user and AI-generated content. Azure OpenAI leverages Azure AI Content Safety models in its content filter to block prompts that violate its content.
Yeah, so you get the idea, right? So then it can help you categorize the data sets that you have to be able to ingest into the models, and then analyze the risk for that. So yeah, with that, guys, really, I wanted to give you a kind of like a quick introduction into what has been the investments that Microsoft has been making, how we're integrating AI into every service, and the commitment Microsoft has into responsible AI. So with that, Microsoft runs on trust, and when it comes to AI, your data is your data. Your data is not used for fine tuning; it's not used to train the models, and it's protected by the most comprehensive compliance and security controls that we provide. So we're leaders in 5 magic quadrants on security, so that can give you some peace of mind as far as the commitment we have as well on security. If you want to get started with AI, go to www.microsoft.com/AI to get started. And yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'll pass it on to our next speaker. So Klaus from Chewy is going to be talking about some use cases in AI. And yeah, it's going to be super interesting conversation. So Klaus, if you're there, just please take over, and then we'll move on to the panel.
Okay, hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Perfect. Let's get started. So my name is Klaus. I've been a data scientist at Chewy for 3 years. And I also have a background in supply chain. And I'm pretty much in the intersection of both of those fields. Like Renato said, there's the field of AI is blowing up. It's empowering everybody around us. And a question that I get asked a lot is, okay, are you worried that AI is going to take your job and, ChatGPT is going to start solving all the data science problems? But actually, my judgment is that AI is going to empower me to actually be much more useful for my company, solve more problems, and be able to learn and iterate faster. Businesses, even with all of this AI going on, businesses are still going to need that bridge between a problem and solution. the business leader, you whoever is going to start that business or store, is going to have problems that they can leverage AI to solve them. And a data scientist, in a way, our job is to fabricate the data or put it in a shape and form where some of these AI powerful tools can then get it and spit out the real answer. the in a simple way, that what machine learning is doing, or what AI is doing, is finding that pattern that is too complex for us humans to actually perceive. So by creating the data or trying to like make it easier for the machine learning AI to identify that root cause effect, that pattern, then you can actually solve a potential problem. So as long as AI doesn't have the ability to start asking or figuring out what the right questions are to ask, or how to like decompose a problem into smaller steps, I think we're still data scientists going to be needed. But what AI does is that it empowers everybody to be a little bit of a data scientist themselves, because then the step to actually doing all the coding and knowing what machine learning algorithms to use or what models are the best, all that is being automated. Now, let's talk a little bit about a supply chain in general. You can think about supply chain you can divide it into like four big quadrants. And first, you have inbound and outbound. So you have to be worried about what's coming into your warehouse and what's going out of your warehouse that you're selling to customers. And you also have to be worried about the supply chain processes and data science that happens outside of a warehouse. So like, how is an order routed from your warehouse to a customer? What are your suppliers? What are the vendor metrics? How are your ordering process going on? And then what happens within a warehouse? How do you put all the items across your warehouse? How do you distribute them? How do you pick them? How do you optimize your labor schedule? How do you what are your operations? Are you pharmacy? Are you a cold product? Do you have to have a hazardous materials? Like all these nuisances come into play in supply chain, and they are all data science problems. They're all problems that need somehow a data science driven solution for them to be optimal. And one prediction that I make with all of this AI that's happening is that in 20, 30 years, a business that doesn't start optimizing with data science from the beginning is not going to be able to make it, because their costs are going to be too high and they're not going to be able to drive the efficiencies needed to be able to operate a business in the digital world, especially when you're talking about a business that sells goods and consumer goods and stuff. So let's talk about a little example in regards to a store. If you are creating a grocery store, let's say fruits, the common problems that you're going to have to deal with, that you need to supply a data science for, you need to decide how much to order of each item that you're gonna sell. You need to decide how much you're going to store of each item that you're gonna sell. You need to decide how many people are you gonna have to receive the items that you order, to put them away, to restock the shelves, to get them shipped. You're gonna have to decide what carriers to use. And all of those decisions, you can think about AI in supply chain as follows. You have many models that are creating predictions. Like, for example, the most standard one is you have to forecast what is going to be the demand for apples. You also have to forecast what are going to be your sales for apples. There's a difference. The sales is what you can actually sell, and the demand is what you could sell if you actually have enough inventory to fulfill your demand. You have to predict how many people are going to be able to hire. And you have to predict how much capacity are you going to have to store your things, what the temperature it is, if you have to like refrigerate the apples or not. And all of these inputs then get fed into an optimization model. And the optimization model, what it does, it uses all these predictions or all the information known to make the most optimal decision or to create options for the most optimal decisions that that lead to, like, once those decisions are made, then operations run, and then you have your business intelligence that tries to, like, create metrics to see if the decisions that this optimizer is optimizing is actually leading to actually better business performance. And then once you create all of these models, it's just repeating the cycle, iterating and iterating until you start fine-tuning your business to operate as smoothly and efficient as possible. Any questions regarding supply chain? Trying to keep it a short.
Good for now.
Okay.
Oh, Yumar has a question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I hit that button by mistake. Keep going. I actually meant to send a applaud, so you're doing well. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Klaus, maybe one question could be, so once you identify the use cases, right? Like, how do you decide which model you're gonna choose to be able to solve that business challenge, and you know, the data? Where do you get the data from? Like, what's your process for finding the data you need to feed the models?
So I actually get that asked that question a lot. What model are you gonna choose and why? And my answer is usually, like, don't worry about the model. Worry about what is the metric. How do you define success? And how is that metric that with business performance? Once you figure that out, right, then you can actually go back to the model and use all of the tools that you mentioned, right, to iterate through different models, right, and pick the one that works best just by trial and error. But what is very key is to actually, like, identify that metric that leads to better business performance. Once you have that, then as a data scientist, you identify what are the right data features that you need to go search for, and might be your website that is capturing, like, that data, right? Like, maybe the user is, like, reviewing your product, giving 5 stars, 4-star. Maybe, for example, your sales data, how much you're selling, a combination of them, or how much, if you're maybe doing, like, a long-term forecasting, then you need to look at, like, economic macro factors that are, like, driving the economic, like, be able to estimate your demand over multiple years and stuff like that. Does that kind of, like, answer your question, Renato?
Yeah, about the data. Once you, let's say, you found the metric, you said, right? Don't worry about the model, but the data. What's the process that you guys use to find the data, pull the data from multiple sources?
That the data is gonna live either, data warehouses like there's Snowflake, Vertica, Azure, so
Databricks.
Redshift and W. Yes, there's many data warehouses or many data sources that you can use, APIs, and as a data scientist, you're gonna have to, like, collect it, clean it. Another thing differentiator in supply chain about the data is that it feels like marketing or more customer facing, or like web analytics. You have big data as the big thing, right? Like, throw as much data as you can to the model, and somehow it will, like, figure out what the solution is. I think in supply chain and also manufacturing, it is much more important to make sure that you're throwing good data at the model. That you have, like, I like to refer to, like, data police in every company, where you're, like, actively hunting for data that does not represent reality, that is bad data, that is throwing your model off. Because good data is much better than big data in fields like supply chain, manufacturing, because there's more of a likelihood of there being a root and a cause effect that in people analytics, for example. And example of that, let's say that you're trying to forecast, like, you have, let's say that you're selling apples, right? And You're trying to forecast. You're trying to predict if the orders that you put to your Apple provider are gonna come in. If you order 100 items, how many you're gonna get, right? Like if you're order 100 apples, how many apples you're gonna get? You're trying to predict that, and you are tracking the Apple World Price Index, and you notice that the prices in apples skyrocketed. So now, because the price of apples has skyrocketed, now you know that your supplier of apples is going to have a much harder time getting the apples or manufacturing the apples, whatever it is. And that is going to give you you're going to have two choices: either do nothing and just accept the increased risk of not being able to get your apples, or you can be proactive and try to get a big order of apples soon enough before things start to get hard, before apples start getting hard to get.
Interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome. And
yeah, this is Mike. I'd like one question, if I could, Klaus. Klaus, we've been talking a lot about data quality. What is your perspective on the evolution of tools, say within the last 2 years or so? Do you see that the tools are evolving to keep pace with the increased need? How do you see that?
I think there's much more tools needed in regards to like being able to measure data quality. But I think more than tools is how you use those tools that is important. There's many tools available, right? But like the data existing from multiple sources, it's hard to know whether you're like getting the source data, right, the raw data, or data that has been processed. And if that has been processed, then you are using somebody else's assumptions on how they process that data. And using somebody else's assumptions is hard. It's dangerous. It's not hard. It's dangerous because their assumption that they use might be good for whatever process they were building, but the assumption doesn't apply anymore for another use case. So, in regards to data quality, it's there. I have not seen a tool that allows you to think about how to like actually like attack the problem of data quality in a fast and easy way.
Klaus, I can chime in. Hi, Umar from Databricks, right? So we have several solutions, including solutions for handling data quality. Like I put in the chat window, we have data that 80% of time spent in AI projects is about data engineering. So when you think about data engineering, you're connecting to different data sources, you are doing ingestion, you are cleaning the data, you're doing some transformation. So there are tools for you to clean the data as you are ingesting. For example, in the Databricks platform, we have something called Delta Live Tables, which is a way for you to declaratively define the quality of your data and expectations. So that's something you could use for data quality. We also have tools for managing data drift, meaning if your data changes a lot, you might want to retrain your models. The question is, how often should you retrain your models? So we also have solutions for managing data drift. And the third point I would highlight there is around ML ops, machine learning operations, because in the past, data scientists, they would train their model locally, put that to production, but they wouldn't have a software engineering practices for managing where the data came from, to test with different data sets, move that into a testing stage environment, and then to production. So I think the industry, and Databricks has played a role there, has made a lot of improvements around data ingestion, data quality tools, data drift, and ML ops. So I think these are the movements in the industry we are seeing that are helping to improve data quality that is used in AI.
Thanks, Umar. I have a question on the chat. Dario is asking, could an AI help you figure out which metrics correlate based on raw data, noisy or dirty?
Can you repeat the question, Renato?
Yeah, could an AI help you figure out which metrics correlate based on raw data, noisy, dirty? I guess to the outcome you're looking for. How can you use AI to help you determine, against the metrics you're asking for? Like what, kind of like streamline the process.
Dario here. Yeah, you may not know what all the metrics are necessarily, right? You may have a problem you're trying to figure out. You just have a lot of data, but you don't quite know which one to pick. I know it's a bit of an art and a science, but I mean, you could also use it that way, couldn't you?
You could also use what?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
So I think in regards to like using, I think that if I understood the question correctly, is what metrics can you use to figure out if your data is noisy or
the question is if you just had a lot of raw data, just a lot of sensors, a lot of inputs, but you're not quite clear which ones are really the ones that matter. Couldn't you use enough raw data and quantity to try to figure out which variables correlate?
You can, yes, you can. But again, let's say that you pick a metric, right? Like I'll give you an example. There's two metrics in data science that are very common: the mean squared error and the mean absolute percent error. So business leaders, right, like to look at mean absolute percent error because it's a percentage and it's easy to interpret, and it makes it easier to speak of. Mean squared error is one that data scientists like to use because it usually penalizes errors that are very big. But let's say that you're trying to forecast, right, the demand for a specific product that you're selling every day. And if you use the mean squared error, right, then it's gonna, like, let's say on Mondays you don't have that many sales. So let's say that is just like 10 sales, 10 apples that you sell. And you forecast that is 10, right? So like you're gonna have a 10 units of error. But then on, let's say Tuesday, right, you sell 20 apples and you predicted 30. It's gonna be 10 again, right? But if you look at one metric, right, the MAPE is gonna be really, really big for Monday, and it's gonna penalize Monday because percentage-wise for Monday is really big. For Tuesday, you still have the error of 10 units, but it's not going to be such a big deal. However, when you go actually talk to the store manager, right? Hey, do you really care if I am predicting if my error is 10 on Monday and 10 on Tuesday? And the store manager, I don't really care if it's Monday or Tuesday. What I really need is like in plus minus 5 days, I need to know exactly how much I'm selling. You see what I mean, Dario? So more than the metric, right, is the nuisance, right, of knowing that whether you predicted that you're gonna sell an apple on Monday, but it actually got sold on Tuesday. That's the kind of nuisance that an AI won't be able to like figure out through.
Okay, which is why you need somebody to be the interpreter, the expert to kind of mediate the business need and the application.
Yes.
Thank you, Klaus.
What the AI allows me to do a lot is brainstorm. I asked ChatGPT, I have this type of problem, these specific things. What are the metrics that have been used in the past and why, and what have been the outcomes, right? And then it gives me a good starting point, right? Rather than me spend like a week trying to research what has been done in the past. With AI, with ChatGPT, I can get it done in a day and have a really good, solid starting point to start iterating from.
Thank you, Klaus. So with that, we'll move on to the panel. Thank you so much for the insights. And I'll pass it on to Ben for doing he's going to be MC on the panel. So thanks, Klaus.
You're welcome.
Hello, everyone. Hey, hi. My camera's not working right now. I was messing with it. But yeah, well, anyways, my name is Ben Mills. I'm the Enterprise Account Executive here at Mazzy Technologies. Today, I'll be moderating our panel discussion around artificial intelligence. In the ever-expanding realm of artificial intelligence, understanding the latest developments, challenges, and ethical implications is crucial for organizations and individuals alike. So as artificial intelligence continues to shape our society and industries. We look forward to facilitating thoughtful and engaging discussions among this group of talented speakers in order to shed light on this rapidly evolving field. So with that, Umar, Michael, and Davey, if y'all would like to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, hi, I'm Mike Piotrowski. I work for Core AI as a solution engineer. I've been with Core about 3 years. Overall background is really digital transformation. I worked for a while at IBM, was part of the Apple IBM Alliance. And prior to joining Core, I was actually at Royal Caribbean, and we put Core AI on one of the largest passenger ships ever built. Looking forward to the discussion. Thanks.
Should I go next?
Yes, go ahead.
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Davey Carkison. I'm an attorney that just built and opened his own law firm called Transnational Matters. We focus on international law, international arbitration, commercial litigation, and also as well, we represent many startup companies in the realm of artificial intelligence and guide them through the regulatory framework for making sure that they are in compliance and make sure that they don't avoid potential disputes down the line. And also as well to help them throughout their transactions. Right now, I would say we're in 2 acquisitions internationally of startup companies located in Europe from an American companies here. So we do represent companies in international transactions. And 5 months ago, I was actually involved with my team into an international chamber of commerce dispute at the arbitration in Paris. So we had to stay 2 weeks to 3 weeks in Paris for the hearings. To finish the arbitrational proceedings on a joint venture disputes. So we do represent companies in investment disputes, and we do represent companies also in the international dealings with arbitration relations.
Excellent. Umar, if you'd like to go ahead.
Sure. Hey, everybody. Great to be here. Umar Aces, also based here in South Florida. I'm with Databricks as a senior solutions architect. I joined the company very recently in April. Before Databricks, I was with Microsoft. I actually spent 11 years with Microsoft, had different roles, always focused on building data-intensive applications. So it included a mix of modern applications and data and AI. In my last role, I was leading a team of IoT architects, and that was building AI models on top of those data sets. So I look forward to the discussion. If you want to learn more about what is Databricks, we are one of the pioneers in what we call the Lakehouse platform. We are a key Microsoft partner. And if you're building any big data solution, AI solution, you definitely want to check out what Databricks can do for you.
Excellent. And last but not least, Michael Gold.
Hey everyone, I'm Michael Gold. I am a professor with the School of Visual Arts, so I teach artists there technical direction for 3D applications and real-time effects, as well as teaching them about procedural content generation and AI-based content generation. So I'm coming at this from the creative side. Prior to SVA, I was an entrepreneur in residence at NYU for 5 years, where we spun out AR and VR and 3D applications. And in addition to my role at SVA, I lead a startup called Shaderverse, which is doing procedural content and AI generative content for 3D games. So we make software that helps accelerate and streamline the process for 3D artists. So I'll be talking about the creative side of this and how it's changing that industry, and looking forward to diving in with all of you.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, so with that, we'll go ahead and get started with the questions. So first question for the panel is, how is AI being used in real-world applications today? And what are some of the most exciting developments we've seen recently?
I think we can answer ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I can start there. I normally think about AI in terms of the use case, and if we think about consumer use cases, I think everybody's familiar with the advancements we have with the digital assistants like Siri, Google, and Alexa. And also utilities we have at home, right? With the advancements in reinforcement learning, now we can have a robot that cleans our house. We even have smart toothbrushes that help us to more efficiently clean our tooth, right? So we have some advancements there in the consumer space, also in e-commerce. Anytime you go to Amazon or Chewy, for example, if you're buying a specific product, an AI engine is going to recommend to you what would be the next natural product to buy. So that's, let's say, the AI advancements we are seeing from a consumer perspective. Where I have spent my career for the last 5 years is building AI solutions for commercial usage. So I've developed projects around healthcare and manufacturing. A lot of projects focus on collecting a lot of data, and we coined this term called the industrial of medical things. And what it stands for is the ability for a hospital, for a healthcare organization to connect all their medical equipments, send that data to a central hub, and provide intelligence to that. So one project I worked, for example, is using AI to predict the probability that a patient could fall out of a hospital bed. That was a use case we built in a hospital setting. Another scenario we also implemented was using data from the electronic medical record. We were able to predict hospital when patients could re-enter the hospital, so you could do certain optimizations. I've also seen a lot of implementations in manufacturing, especially around workplace safety, and also using AI to increase production optimization, to increase yield. Again, AI is real. What we say Databricks AI right now, we have an iPhone moment of AI. So it's real. It's not just about chat GPT. It's not just about large language models. Organizations are using these technologies to really improve how their employees work and how they serve their customers.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that, Eunice. This is Mike from Core. I think it's important to try to humanize all of this. We all know that ChatGPT is like an iPhone moment, and in fact, at Core, when it really started to become evident that this is something game changing, is it something that's going to help us at Core, or something that sort of poses an existential threat? And we definitely are of the belief right now that it is a huge benefit. We specialize in building virtual agents, consumer-facing human agents, virtual agents, and as well as those that face business users. And one of the things that really seems to be happening right now is that we're seeing a lot of interest in avatars, 3D avatars. And we do demos. We have some of these in healthcare. Sometimes people will be so happy they start to cry. But it's more than just the textual world. I think that voice is a huge ad. We're having a lot of increase in voice all across our business, and also starting to see quite a bit of an uptake in virtual humans. And I'd just like to play an example right now, if I could. So I'm going to open up my share tray and play a video right now. All right. Let's see. So I'm just going to share my entire screen right now, and this is a Miami weekend idea, something that would be aimed at the travel and transportation industry, narrated by a virtual agent named Kasima. Okay, here goes. It'll last about 2 minutes.
Hello, and welcome to Miami. My name is Kasima, and I am your virtual Miami tour guide. I can show you all the fun things to do in Miami. To get started, may I give you a quick tour of South Beach?
Yes, Kasima. I'd like to see South Beach very much, please.
We're in South Beach now, right on Ocean Drive. This roadway is known for its Art Deco hotels, restaurants, and bars, many of which have been prominently featured in numerous movies and media. Among the most popular is the 1939 Colony Hotel, known as the most photographed Art Deco hotel in the world. The Colony has been featured in scores of movies and TV shows. Another popular Art Deco hotel is the Clevelander, with a beautiful rooftop lounge. The exterior
Kasima, can you tell me about the Versace mansion?
The Versace mansion in South Beach is a stunning Italian Renaissance style villa. It's a must-see for visitors who want to enjoy its grand architecture, lush gardens, and elegant furnishings. The stunning atmosphere of Giovanni's as night in the former Versace mansion rivals the best places in the world today. In the history steeped dining room, under the stars on site, Giovanni's offers a wonderful, unique, luxurious experience.
What can I do on the water when I'm in Miami, Kasima?
Alrighty, give me a second and I will show you a video with few things you can do in and around the water in Miami. You can soak up the sun on the beach and frolic on the water. Get on a boat and enjoy the waters close to shore. Nature lovers will enjoy the flora and fauna of the Everglades. Enjoy the spectacular Miami high-rise skyline on an evening cruise on Biscayne Bay.
Okay, everyone. Thanks for listening to that. One of the interesting things, if you think about how much AI just went into that, let's say before ChatGPT, clearly the automatic speech recognition, the text-to-speech, and Core AI, we look at ourselves as sort of a platform that ties all of this together, where we provide sort of the conversational intelligence, and we're able to leverage all of the advances in large language models, and we've got about 15 attachment points right now in our current release version of the platform, and we have the ability to plug out both OpenAI itself in there as well as Azure OpenAI into our platform to make it even easier to build things like this. We're estimating about a 50% reduction in the level of effort to build virtual agents using by using a holistic approach with large language models.
Well, that was really informative. So in terms of, I don't know, I'm sorry, are you rejected? Are you done with answering your question? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, thanks. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I just want to double check. I didn't want to interrupt anything. But this was actually quite impressive, to be honest with you, that the AI is able to do a presentation. There's several actually tools out there, not at this caliber, but sort of actually building presentations such as Tom.app and Gamma.app. There's other tools out there that can do your own presentation of the company, sales, whatever you like. The AI will do it for you. You just have to modify it. In terms of a legal perspective, AI has helped the attorneys to do the proper research and research a lot faster. The information actually provides information a lot faster than conventional research, right? So that helps. However, it doesn't come without its drawback. The problem is that into the legal perspective, AI needs to be still monitored and still making sure that the information is correct, certainly in an attorney perspective, right? And I discussed, if you remember, Renato, I discussed this at the VC World Summit, that a New York attorney actually filed a case in the federal court with non-existence case because he used ChatGPT to actually cite these cases. I don't think so. The court was really too happy about this, and I'm not sure if the bar was too happy about this. And these are actually the due diligence that attorneys have to be careful when using these tools, because they may not be as accurate as they should at the moment right now. I think down the line they will be. Now, the difference between AI in the legal world and the AI to the consumer world is that in the legal world we have access to the legal precedents library that we need to pay for, which is exclusively accessible to attorneys unless you go to a law library or some other places that funds these access, right? So the AI in ChatGPT doesn't necessarily have access to the cases that we need to find for us to argue our case in court. So we need to go to the proper search engines like Westlaw or Casetext that have all the legal library for us to provide the proper citation. Now, in terms of AI in itself and the consumer basis, there's a huge issues that attorneys look at in terms of liability. And for example, prior to the discussion panel, we're discussing about how ChatGPT was able to code a remote access tool, and I just asked it to do it, and there's ways to jailbreak it, and all of a sudden I have a remote access tool in C#. And then I asked ChatGPT how to, for example, create a bomb. So there's a lot of questions of liabilities, and there's a lot of question whether the company should be liable for providing assistance to actually the user to have those information, and or the user should be liable for actually getting that information regardless. Now, one can argue that actually this user can go on Google and search all these information right away and get the answers, right? But it's still something that should be questioned, because a couple months ago, there was, I think this was a case in Belgium, where actually environmentalist, he actually turned to AI to find the answer for global warming. And what happened next is that he started writing the sentence like, I will give my life away for you to figure out the solution. And the AI responded, well, you might as well take it away anyways, right? So there's also ethical rules that actually broke into these accounts. And in the end of the day, this environmentalist killed himself. And today there's a huge investigation on the company that needs to regulate the AI to not encourage, to not like kind of push suicide as well as a result. So there's a lot of questions into the legal perspective as to how AI can help, but how AI also can be injuring the population as a result. So there's not much regulation to the AI yet. But there's a lot of issues such as trademark. For example, if you're gonna write an article with AI, is it an article that was already copied somewhere else? This word was actually put somewhere else in the copyright issues, or is the user liable for his own research, or the company was liable to some research? There's also one more thing, data breach. This is a lot of people talk about data in this presentation. And it's a really, data, the word is a really, in itself, really broad, because data could be any information, right? And now you have conflict of laws that can be involved here. I apologize about that. Conflict
David,
of laws.
if you could just, actually, I'm happy you're on this track, because that was the next question of legal implications for AI. But Mike, could you please stop sharing your screen while David finishes his answer? Yeah, so I mean, yeah, Davey, you're on the right track for that. Next question is, what are the legal implications and challenges surrounding the use of AI, including language models like LLMs, and how can existing frameworks address them? So I believe you're already on track on answering that.
I apologize, Ben, if I went ahead.
No worries.
My legal head has been all over the place the entire day. So, I think a computer would do a much better job than I do right now. Anyways, all right. So technically, what's happening is that you have a lot of conflict of laws and conflicts of privacy as well included. So I want to ask, like, any of you is living in Europe by any chance? Anybody lives in Europe? I'm really curious about if anyone lives in Europe currently right now, and I want to ask the question that person specifically, because I need to know if it is changed over time. I don't know if anybody lives in Europe, but anybody in chat? Oh, okay, RM lives in Europe. Who lives in Europe? I can see the chat. Okay, so I'm not sure if anybody lives in Europe yet. Just one who raised his hand. I'm not sure how to pull them up, but I want to ask the person if you can answer me in the chat or by microphone. Did you see Google Home or Alexa being used in Europe as much? That's my question, because I know why they are really limited in use in these tools. And I will get to this immediately. I don't know if anybody wants to answer that question. Okay, so I don't think so. We're gonna have that question. I don't know what there's one person who actually raised his hand, but I'm not sure exactly if this was a mistake. But in any case, so go ahead.
I was gonna say Richardson had his hand raised for just a little bit, so I don't know, Richardson, did you have a question or did you have something to add to that?
Yes. Hi everyone. My name is Richardson.
Hi, how are you, Richard?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Good,
And
good.
thanks to you guys. This is very amazing. I'm very excited. Talking about AI right now is talking about the larger technology because everybody is very interested about AI right now, and we can see it is a big part of the technology. My point right now is a big concern because when I'm looking at AI, I can say AI is about images and sounds that we can see clearly with ChatGPT is like um, a part of the customer service when we look at the AI. And my concern right now, I would like to know if AI can handle the critical thinking, especially when it comes to the ChatGPT to deliver a good customer service for the community. Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if anybody wants to take that answer.
Well, Richardson is a great segue to the next question as well. And it's really, I mean, as a musician myself, thinking about the creative aspect of things like OpenAI, ChatGPT, and what AI is going to be doing in that industry, I think has a lot of I don't know, factors to really consider. So, I mean, now we've seen AI and ChatGPT writing lyrics for songs, and I mean, even I use that, and then it writes notes, and it's writing music and composing. And how does that affect copyright rules and laws? So, what would the panel like to say around, the creative aspect of artificial intelligence?
I can jump in
Sure.
with that. So, in the creative field, this is how people have been using it, or at least how things first got started. And I'll just set the stage briefly and talk about the ideation part of the creative process. So if a design team got a project before these AI tools were invented, usually what you'd have on the design team is you'd have the creative director, who's essentially like in charge of overseeing all of the creative process that happens there. And then maybe there'd be a technical director, some artists, and other people on the team. And what the creative director would do is, before they presented any of their ideas to the team, they would lock themselves into their office and figure out what ideas and what visuals they would put onto a mood board that they would share with their team to get the team aligned on like how they could deliver on this creative vision. And those mood boards could be anything from a PowerPoint presentation to a Pinterest with a lot of images, and the creative director would scour Google Images mainly, and maybe Shutterstock for ideas to share just with the team. And from the advent of DALL-E and then later Stable Diffusion and Midjourney, creative directors switched their entire process to, instead of finding art that didn't quite fit, where they were telling their team, only look at this piece of the picture here and don't look at this part, don't look at that. They were able to put together ideas visually to get the teams aligned that would never see the light of day, but would make it into these mood board presentations. And that was kind of the beginning of this in the creative industry. And that is something that these models are very good at. The first draft that never sees the light of day. I mean, all of the horror stories that you hear involve people putting a model in front of the public and giving it to the public as like, hey, this is a finished good, just interact with this. But if you're using it as part of the creative process, where you're in the mood to see 100 bad ideas just for the hope of finding that one good one, then this starts to add a lot of value. Or, and I think I'd love to talk more about this later, if you're building a product and you can put rails on the the generative models that you're using, so that and you know, like I say rails in the terms of like in product building terms, that's similar to kiddie rides at an amusement park where you let the kids steer, but there's rails controlling the cars so they can't steer off of the rails. They've got a little bit of boundary like this to steer within, so they feel like they're in control, but really you're determining the path that things will travel. And there are good ways to do this with AI software that are coming down the pike. But yeah, essentially first draft, and if you can put the machines on rails, and that's how the creative industry is using it right now.
So I just want to jump back because you said actually how AI interact with the creativity, and then you have a patent copyright issues. And again, this is also as well revolving around the conflict of laws, because in US you can sort of like create as you go, right? And then you have a freedom of speech that allows you to create, right? But in Europe, that's completely differently defined. So if you're online and using an AI, and let's say somebody from Europe is using the same product as somebody in the US, they have a different standard of that product on how they should use it. And in fact, actually, on data privacy is also another problem with AI. In the US, you don't own your data, right? All the data that's actually been collected is owned by the company who collects them. In Europe, on the other hand, the data that you input with the AI, or let's talk about Facebook or MySpace or all these places, social media, that you own. You have a right to be forgotten in Europe. So now how AI plays in this, it depends on the data center, and it depends on how the regulatory framework for each AI has been implemented, and how Google has also as well determined exactly how do we regulate and how do we play with US versus Europe, because they have both different legal system that's completely in conflict. And this could be really problematic down the line as you expand internationally.
Thanks, David. All right, and for our last question, we're going to give each of the panelists 60 seconds or less to just say what is most exciting about you in the most recent advancements of artificial intelligence. I guess we'll start with you, Umar.
Sure. Like everybody said before, I think we are living an iPhone moment with AI. But for me, I think this is Databricks' mission, and it's my personal mission. I'm really on a quest to democratize AI solutions, data and AI solutions. So I think I'm excited to see the amount of investments we are making in terms of making sure we have the people qualified to manage and build these models, right? So we cannot forget the human aspect. And you got to make sure as we are bringing new models to market, we have people who know how to work with them. We also have to be able to help people do their career transition, right? People who might be affected and people who want to start a career being a data scientist, a data engineer. So I'm excited about that. And I'm also excited about the level of maturity that organizations are adopting to make sure that they can use all these AI models. Because like I said before, I think it's the third time I say today, any AI solution, you're going to spend about 80% of your time with data. And you got to make sure that you have software engineering practices that can help you have good quality data so your models can give you a good output. So I'm excited about the advancements the industry is having around skilling the people, around machine learning operations, around how you can allow organizations to do fine tuning of these models in their own compute with their own data. OpenAI is one of the models available, but there are many other open source models available. And perhaps if you're a healthcare organization, you don't want to train that model with only OpenAI. You might want to use your open source model within your organization. So I'm excited about the frameworks that are in place in the industry right now to allow organizations to train their models, to fine tune these models with their data in their location, in their preferred providers. So these are some of the aspects I'm excited. But again, I would emphasize we cannot forget the human aspect. So it's important to make sure that people are able to find their place in this new paradigm we are having with AI, LLM, ChatGPT, etc.
Great answer. Thank you, Umar. And Michael from Core, what are you most excited about with artificial intelligence, the most recent advancements in 60 seconds or less?
In 60 seconds or less, great. Well, I would summarize that I am a Renaissance individual, at least I like to think of myself that way, working for a Renaissance company. And let me explain a little bit. At Core AI has been in conversational AI for about 7 years, so we were a little bit early in the market. And what a gift from large language models. Now it's top of mind on every senior leadership team, on every company board of directors. So we don't need to tell them why conversational AI is important. They know that it's important. They get that. So it is a huge opportunity. From a company standpoint, we've been atop our Gartner Magic Quadrant in conversational AI for 2 years in a row. So we've got the platform, and we're quite far along now in plugging plugging large language models in to leverage that for our platform. And then kind of as an individual, you know, what a golden opportunity to be at the intersection of so many interesting things. One of the debates is computer science, you know, art or is it engineering, right? And there's no right answer to that question. And I think this really helps to bring that into focus and lets you have the best of both worlds, so to speak.
Great. Excellent answer, Mike. Appreciate your inputs. And now Michael Golds.
Yeah, just I want to echo what Umar said. I think that the thing that excites me most is the open sourcing of this and the allowing people to train on their own data. Like over the past 6 months, my students were able to train stable diffusion, generative art models on their own artwork, right, on their own machines without going out to the cloud. And essentially be able to generate more of the characters they were making, more of the background environments that they were making visually. And I think what this gets really exciting when people will be able to fine tune and train their own large language models on their own data, on their own machines. Right now, it's starting, right? But you need to have a machine that's a little bit more powerful than the gaming desktops that we might have at home. But I feel like that's coming down the pike. I mean, certainly Databricks been doing amazing work on that. Once we have that, the interplay between large language models and generative art is, I think, really ripe for discovery and for new frontiers to be broken, because you can essentially have natural language that interacts with generative art, that lets people create generative art based on models, both procedural and generative, made by an artist, which gets really exciting with what you can do with that. Happy to dive into that with people in the dinner tomorrow night. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Michael. And last but not least, Davey, 60 seconds or less, what has you most excited about artificial intelligence and the most recent advancements?
The most exciting things about AI in general is that it helps to learn information quicker. A lot of people find it more interactive. You can learn quicker, subject to your research based on the topic. So this makes also research a lot faster for us to generate those information and help us be able to make the right judgment on time. So it's like, again, back in the days when the internet did not exist, and when all of a sudden we have Windows 98 and we start having internet connections, and now it's a huge innovation. And I think this is really important for everybody to hear this, is that the companies that adapt the fastest are the company that will succeed the fastest too. So that's basically it. So the companies that not adapt to the internet today, they fail. Such as, I can take an analogy here. If anybody remembers about Blockbuster, who actually did not go online and compete with Netflix, now today, they're just not there anymore. So adaptation is really important. We have to adapt fast, but we also have to be cautious about this adaptation.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Davey. And yeah, if we could all go to the React and give the panel a virtual round of applause. Thank you guys for joining, and thanks for all the great insights, great questions, or great answers. I was one of the questions. With that, I'll hand back to Stefano.
You're on mute, Stefano. You're on mute.
Apologies.
Yeah, now you can hear.
So thank you very much for attending this session. AI is going to be a transforming technology. I think it's going to transform many industries. Nebula is looking at doing transformation via a decentralized solutions and entire marketplace that's driven by smart contracts and AI. AI is going to be the catalyst for many things. And so thank you again for attending. Anyone that wants to join us at our dinner, we have a code for a discount for the dinner tomorrow. So we're looking forward to meet you there. And yes, looking forward meeting with you guys and talk about the future of what AI can do for your organizations. So with that said, thank you again, and looking forward to meeting you there tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you so much, everybody. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.